Hi, and thank you for joining me for this audio presentation of American Tales, because imagination really does lay the tracks that our reality follows. And the question of this presentation and of this pilot project that's being proposed is, what is the future that we're willing to work for? Now, where we are is that our media environment is focused on dystopian stories of the future. There's either the MAGA story that if they don't win the next election, then the country's going to be socialist and everybody's 401ks are going to be taken away. And then you have the stories from the left media, the media that's more liberal, that says the authoritarians are going to take over unless the Democrats win the next election. So that's, and then Hollywood gets into a lot of hero dystopian futures where there's a few survivors that have to figure things out at the end. And there are other people who are imagining a better future for us, but they are largely intellectual elite who have not gotten feedback or input, if you will, from everyday Americans. And so American Tales is the voice of those everyday people who already feel aggrieved or angry or resigned for some reason. And as a consequence of that, they've either tuned out of civic life or they've moved to the extremes and they believe their voice doesn't matter. And the other group of people that American Tales is for people who are willing to spend some time thinking about their own future. And this, I think, is what's going to make American Tales special. Americans really do have this can-do spirit. And yet so many of us have tuned out of the news for, either forever or for a short period of time. We've gone into escapism or addiction. And I don't know about you, but for me, I'm also seeing that a lot more people in my life, my friends and family, are struggling more than they have in the last 20 plus years. And so there's not like this opportunity to thrive that we used to have. And I'm seeing that also, through mental illness. And then we add on top of all of that the extreme weather conditions that we're starting to experience. This is the summer of 2023, and it was kind of like one a week where we had some extreme weather event happening somewhere that's impacting those that we love. And so my thesis here is that Americans really need to imagine and believe in a future that's going to be worth the crap we have to wade through to get there. And this is the whole thesis around what the American Tales Project is centered on, what it's for and why it's centered around everyday people. I'm Debbie Lynn Molyneux. I do envision a thriving, just, and healthy future for us all. And I have some credentials that make me ideally qualified to do this. We are experiencing an existential crisis, together. We don't know if how much longer the Earth is going to support human life, and especially in the quantities, the billions of people that are here. But beneath this multi-crises of our time, which I actually believe we can work through, we have a fundamental crisis of imagination. And culture futurist Theo Edmonds recently said that neuroscience has shown that if we spend even 3 minutes a day in awe and wonder about a possible future, we already begin to create that vision of our new reality. So how might we then imagine our way into a better future? That's what this project is for. We also know that individual efforts need to add up. And our culture, which is built on rugged individualism, that we think everything that is worth doing, we ought to be able to do for ourselves, be very self-sufficient. But in some of that, we've lost our ability to work with others and to consider the needs of others and not just our own needs. And so this project also is going to encourage people to compromise for the greater good, get their own needs met, make sure others in their community have their needs met, etc. So basically, it's about relearning a process of how to work together. Part of what we do in our everyday lives right now is we think about our education, we think about our careers, we think about our retirement, and we plan for all of these things. But what we don't plan for is how the community in which we live needs our input and our healthy engagement so that our entire community can be a place where everyone can thrive. So I call this a civic life plan. And that's part of the process, is connecting people to what they want for themselves and then connecting them to their community to help make the context or the environment in which they live able to help them get what they want for themselves. So every civic life plan begins with what people want for themselves. And it's actually trickier than it seems. Our human brains are wired to think about what we don't want, what's wrong in the current environment, and then judge people harshly for that. So think about these 4 questions. This is the basis of this pilot project. The first thing is like, what are your 3 priority values? You know, for me, it's love, connection, and affirmation. How do you spend your day? How do you feel most of the time? This one's a big one because for those people who are feeling aggrieved or resentful or resigned right now, they're going to want to shift that feeling into something else. I want to feel authentically engaged, supported, and like I belong, right? So how do you want to feel most of the time? And then this last one is really leading us into the future too. It's like, what are you most proud of in your life? Being able to answer these 4 questions will help people think about a future that they actually want to live into and that will be worth waiting through all that crap. So to pilot this planning process for everyday Americans, I propose that a 4-step process. The first one is to interview 35 people and help them, ask them these 4 questions and help them unlock the imagination about a future that they want for themselves. So it's a little bit coaching, a little bit facilitation, etc. Ideally one-on-one, could also be some small groups, but 35 people to help give us some data. The second step in this process is to introduce them, identify what they want, and then look at where their desires for themselves connect with their community and with their civic life. And so then connect them back to organizations that are already working in their arena, in their community, on something that can have impact on their own goals. And so this is a way to wind people back through something like Citizen Connect or through their local humanities council or something. This third step on this then is to take the data that we get from these 35 people and work with researchers and storytellers to identify some common and oppositional themes, and then prepare some behind the scenes, if you will, content for sponsors and participants. Also create some public content that can be shared with the media as long as it's approved by participants. In the pilot project, I really want to ensure the participants feel safe in being recorded, so we're not going to put anything out there with a gotcha kind of that's going to make them look bad. But we do need to have some content and then create something to share to the public. And then the last step, the 4th step, is to share some of these here I go. Share some of these imagined futures with the public, with short people, and then invite them to share their own goals and visions for the future. So if people can take these, pretty, what seem to be fairly open-ended, simple questions, and then even talk about them in small groups like book clubs or faith communities or my favorite, family reunions, I think that would just be a way to help unlock our American imagination and can-do spirit. And then, of course, once the pilot is complete, we need to analyze and present the results, and then really position this for phase 2 of this project, which is to scale this and really get into like 20 or more states. 50 would be ideal. Develop a story collection portal, and then help from the researchers and storytellers to collect all of these stories and catalog them into themes for some ongoing throughout 2024 content creation. Again, seeding a narrative, a future out there that doesn't suck, so that people can be like, oh, I want that. Phase 3, if we get through phase 1 and 2, would be then to do some narrative sense making and crafting that would include drafting a documentary script and perhaps an outline of a book, and securing funding for both of those. Phase 4, which would take place largely in 2025, would be community building around this new narrative, the production of a documentary, and writing the book itself. And then phase 5 slated for 2026, just in time for the quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of our nation, would be to release the book and the documentary and do a promotional tour for both. So this pilot project really is just step one here in 2023 for what's going to be a 3-year run to help establish a new story for the future of America that makes it worth it for us to wade through all the crap we're going to have to go through between now and then. $25,000 of the $87,500 is already secured. We're looking for the remaining $62,500, and I hope that you will join the team and help support a better future for all of us. Thank you so much.